Welcome to Venezuela Insider, the only place in Venezuela for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, travelers, and related internationals. For more information, venezuelainsider.com. Today we are going to review the 10 best passports to visit, invest, or make a living in Venezuela. Since one of the main issues about just doing business in Venezuela, just doing whatever matters here in Venezuela is diplomatic relationship. So today we are going to mention 10 passports that are better suited in order to just do whatever you are planning to do here in Venezuela. So let's start. Number 10 is China. The Chinese passport is not actually a very strong passport, only has access to 81 nations visa-free. According to the Henley and Partners ranking is at number 64, and according to the Nomad Capitalist ranking as a passport is only
122.
and is actually the only passport on this ranking that requires a tourist visa in order to enter to Venezuela. Although that's not a main issue for Chinese citizens that are trying to visit Venezuela, since actually, although getting the Venezuelan tourist visa is not a quite simple errand, for Chinese citizens is actually a more swift and expedite process. Usually, Chinese citizens that want to come here as a tourist and then maybe as an investor or future residents has many facilities in order to do so. So the thing is that actually the diplomatic relationship between Venezuela and China are quite good. Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, has very good relationship with the President Xi, China, and they have very good diplomatic ties overall, not only diplomatic, also a lot of business between China and Venezuela are going on. It's one of the main trade allies of Venezuela. So any Chinese citizen that wants to visit Venezuela or maybe invest in the future are not going to have so much trouble doing so. Number 9, we have Germany. The German passport is actually one of the best on the world. It is a travel document, very strong, that has visa-free access to 191 nations. One of the best on the world. According to the Henley and Partners ranking, is the third best passport on the world, and according to the Nomad Capitalist ranking, is 12, a little bit lower, but still a very good passport overall. And the main thing about the German passport regarding Venezuela is they don't have the best diplomatic relationship, but actually is not that bad. The only thing is that actually Germany was one of the 60 nations that recognized Juan Guaido as the legitimate president of Venezuela on 2019, despite the situation with the actual president Nicolas Maduro. So, well, apparently that diplomatic issue was sorted out. The German ambassador of actually the German ambassador here in Venezuela, he was asked to leave the country on such days. However, that situation, like I said, sorted out, and he's on the country again. And historically, Germany and Venezuela had really decent diplomatic relationships. And the main thing about the German passport here in Venezuela, we have a few tens of thousands, both German citizens and German descendant citizens. And the main thing that you have to remember is that since Venezuela has actually a Schengen visa, doesn't require a visa in order to enter to the European Schengen territory. it is actually quite, that's what makes the Venezuelan passport actually quite good, despite all of the drama of the past 10 years or so. So, see, just for that fact, the Venezuelan in Germany and actually many of the countries of the Schengen area has a relative good international relations. So that's what makes the German passport number 9. Number 8, we have the Turkey passport or the Turkey passport. I don't know how it is pronounced. The Turkish passport is actually a quite decent travel document. It has visa-free access to 111 countries, despite the fact that doesn't have the Schengen visa. So they cannot enter to the EU nations, most of them, without a visa application. According to Henley and Partners, the Turkish passport ranks number 53, and according to the Nomad Capitalist ranking, it is 94. Pretty solid passport overall. Now, regarding Venezuela, it's a quite good passport since they have a great diplomatic relationship between, there's a very good diplomatic relationship between Turkey and Venezuela. And it's quite recent such relationship since 2016. At that moment, Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, and Erdogan, the president of Turkey, they were acquaintances. They don't have a bad relationship. However, on 2016, late 2016, I remember Erdogan suffered an attempt of a coup d'etat, and it was pretty much clear after a couple of weeks. However, Nicolas Maduro was one of the first diplomats, I'm talking leaders of the world, I'm gonna call it like that, that actually reached to Erdogan in order to say, to extend his helping hand and says, I understand you and we can establish better relations on the near future. And that actually happened. I remember just less than a year later, I went to my local grocery store and I found out many Turkish products, mostly food products. Also, the main flagship airline from Turkey, Turkish Airlines, has a direct flight from Istanbul to Caracas, and it's a very frequent flight. So actually, Turkey and Venezuela have great relationships, and if you're a Turkish citizen or you are a owner of a Turkish passport, you're gonna have an expedite process here in Venezuela, and it's a very good, solid passport in order to visit Venezuela. Number 7, we have Poland. The Polish passport is actually one of the best on the world. It has visa-free travel access to 185 nations. According to Henley and Partners, is ranked number 9, and according to Nomad Capitalist, is ranking number 39. I don't know why it's ranked so low by Nomad Capitalist. Subject for another day. The main thing is that the Polish passport is actually it's a Schengen passport, and Venezuela right now have pretty decent relationships with the Schengen area nation. The other thing is that historically Poland has pretty good diplomatic relationships with Venezuela. Venezuela has something around 10,000 to 20,000 Polish citizens and Polish descendant citizens. And just for that fact, Polish citizens can come here without a visa, without a tourist visa, and after that, we'll have a smoother transition in order to want to stay in Venezuela on the long run, maybe investing, maybe getting a residency, if of course they qualify for the two requirements. So Poland has a great passport for Venezuela. Number 6, we have Italy. The Italian passport is one of the best on the world. It has visa-free travel to 190 nations. According to Henley and Partners, it's the 4th best passport on the planet, and according to Nomad Capitalist, is number 11. The main thing about the Italian passport here in Venezuela is, first, pretty decent diplomatic relationships between Venezuela and Italy, although this might change a little bit since last year the prime minister in Italy is a right-wing lady, Giorgia Meloni, I believe is the lady's name. Although right now I don't have to report any kind of issue. The Italian, there is a lot of ties between Venezuela and Italy. We have something around 100,000 Italian citizens and Italian descendant citizens here in Venezuela. And the ties between Venezuela and Italy are not also diplomatic, they're very cultural. We have here Venezuela is something about the second country with the most pasta consumption per capita on the planet, just behind Italy. So we have a bunch of Italian cuisine here in Venezuela. So, and the last thing is that Mediterranean passports work pretty great here in Venezuela. We have a lot of Mediterranean heritage here and Mediterranean influence. So the Italian passport for Venezuela works pretty good. Number 5, we have Portugal. The Portuguese passport, yet again, other of the best passports on the planet, 188 visa-free travel access around the world, according to Henley and Partners, 6 best passport on the planet, and according to Nomad Capitalist, is the 6th on the planet. Beyond that, Venezuela and Portugal have a pretty solid diplomatic relationship. And the other thing is we also have a lot of heritage, Portuguese heritage here in Venezuela, not as much as Brazil, but however, here we have a bunch of Portuguese, not only Portuguese citizens, but also Portuguese descendants. And we have something around between 100,000 and 200,000 Portuguese citizens or Portuguese descendant citizens. So great passport for doing any kind of arrangement here in Venezuela. And number 4, we have yet another Mediterranean passport. This time is Spain. Spain also has a great travel document. It has visa-free travel to 191 nations. According to Henley and Partners, the 3rd best passport on the planet. And according to Nomad Capitals, is 23. The particular thing about the Spaniard passport is that first, like I mentioned before, Mediterranean culture here in Venezuela, and probably Spain has the strongest Mediterranean culture here in the country. We have several hundreds of thousands of Spaniard citizens and also Spaniard descendants. You also have to take into account that they have very good political relationships. The President Nicolas Maduro has great relations with the left-leaning political party over there that is currently on the power in Spain. That is the Partido Socialista Obrero de España, or PSOE, or PSOE, and has pretty good relationships with the President Pedro Sanchez, and also good diplomatic ties overall. So you have to take into account that we share the same language, and that's one of the most important things that when you are doing relations with some other countries, when you are able to speak common languages, that comes very handy for international relations, and for that reason, Spain, number 4. Number 3, we have Argentina. Argentina has actually one of the best passports in the whole Latin America, has visa-free travel to 171 countries. According to Henley and Partners, has the 20th best passport, and according to Nomad Capitalist, it's number 49. And the thing about Argentina is, first, of course, there is a Latin American passport, and also it's a Spanish speaking passport, well, Spanish speaking nation, and that helps a lot if you're coming to Venezuela, which of course also speak English as well. The diplomatic relationships are quite good. The current president of Argentina is Alberto Fernandez. That is a left-leaning president. The diplomatic relationship overall is quite good. So if you are visiting Venezuela from Argentina or using an Argentinian passport, that helps a lot. It's a visa-free travel trip to Venezuela, and also it's easier to get some sort of other kind of visa and other errands that you need depending on your issues, your affairs here in Venezuela. Two, we have Russian Federation. Russia doesn't have a great passport overall. Only has access visa-free travel to 118 nations. Not only that, since the conflict on the war in Ukraine, that actually diminished very heavily the number of countries that Russian citizens can visit around the world. But Venezuela is actually one of the few places where they have some, let's say, international presence and strength, some strong presence. The Russian passport, is actually ranked 51 by Henley and Partner and number 91 by Nomad Capitalist. However, these are last year's rankings, so when they're updated, probably they're gonna have a decline. Now, particularly on the diplomatic relationship is actually very good. The President Nicolas Maduro is actually very good friends with President Putin, and also the Russian Chancellor Sergei Lavrov has visited many times the country, and we have a very strong cooperation alliance here between both Russia and Venezuela. So a great passport for visiting Venezuela and maybe investing on the future. Number one passport is Mexico. Mexico, many people doesn't know this, but the Mexican passport is actually a very good travel document. Although it doesn't have access to the US, Canada, although don't quote me on this, but I believe recently they can travel visa-free to Canada and some other major countries. Actually, the Mexican passport has a great presence, 160 nations, and is ranked by Henley and Partners on number 25, and Nomad Capitalist has it on 54. Now, this not only this fact, but also that Mexico has great diplomatic relationship with Venezuela. And the current president, left-leaning Andrés Manuel López Obrador, or AMLO, as he's popularly called, is very good friends with President Maduro, and also the diplomatic relation is pretty good, pretty stable. And not only that, there is also a cultural presence between both Mexicans and Venezuelans. We don't have that much Mexicans living here in Venezuela, but actually from the Latin American nations are the most keen and curious to visit and invest in here in Venezuela. Not only that, we also have to mention the fact that Mexico and Venezuela both speak Spanish, so that strengthens the bond between both countries, both nations. And there is one caveat that I have to mention, that lately the Venezuelan government is applying some reciprocity policies in order to visit Venezuela. For instance, on the past few years, both Chile and Peru require Venezuelans to get a tourist visa in order to visit such countries. Last year, it was mentioned that both Chileans and Peruvians also require a tourist visa in order to visit Venezuela, and it's not a easy visa to get. And since 2020, 2021, Mexico also required Venezuelan tourists that get a visa. Just few years ago, Venezuelans can enter Mexico without any hiccup, any issue. And that's the only thing that concerns me about the Mexican passport. Maybe applying some reciprocity to Mexican citizens as well. I don't see it happening, but still I can rule that out. So I'm gonna mention if that happens. I hope it doesn't. But if that happens, you're gonna hear it from here. Despite that fact, Mexican passport is actually the best passport, just in my opinion, just on my criteria, in order to visit and maybe invest in Venezuela. Thank you for watching Venezuela Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. If you want to work with us, VenezuelaInsider.com. Thanks again and have a nice day.